aging isn't all roses, obviously. We're viewing our later years very differently than generations before. We saw out there a lot of celebrities doing an amazing job about talking about aging, like Jane Fonda and Jamie Lee Curtis. But in that sort of, well, what about other people? It was sort of like, what about everyday people? Well, what happens after menopause? And all these sort of revelations that we didn't have when we were going through. So it was health related, it was mind related. You have a honeymoon period when you stop working after you've been working, as you say, 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever. You do have a honeymoon period where you go, phew, I'm glad that's over. And the reality of retirement didn't hit me until I was in my 60s, early 60s, where you start to think there was never a plan and there should have been a plan. So that's the important thing for us, is to really talk very openly so that people can feel like they're not alone, take agency, make their decisions. Society has this big narrative that says you've got to find your purpose. It's a big, big word with a capital P. Purpose doesn't have to be that big.
Yeah.
You can have small purposes and multiple purposes. So
Little piece.
little P's, we call them. And, your purpose in, the next act can be, I'm gonna make sure that I'm healthy. And all of a sudden the world opens up when you start thinking about that. And you go, you know what? It's okay for me to have a bunch of little P's. And the aim of all our conversations is just to humanize and normalize our aging process and make it part of the natural conversation. It's really that simple.
Cynthia, Leslie, it is so lovely to have you here at Movement Living. We're very excited for this conversation and to introduce you to our community for those who may not already know you. And I'd love to just hear from you guys. When you think about, living well and aging better, which is what we're all about at Movement Living, do you guys what's your vision for that? Like, how is the Twinagers Project part of that vision?
We're a social platform. We're building a community, and the aim of that community and the aim of all our conversations is just to humanize and normalize our aging process and make it part of the natural conversation. It's really that simple. Yeah, it really is. And our vision is to be able to share stories, share conversations, share our experiences, and the conversations that bubble up from our community with women and men, but primarily women. So that, the vision is that people can take agency over what their wellness is and what how they're feeling in life and what knowledge they have and how they make their decisions as they age. So that's the important thing for us, is to really talk very openly so that people can feel like they're not alone, take agency, make their decisions, try to research more, that sort of thing.
What brought you to that point where you wanted to communicate it? How did that, what's the aha moment?
Well, it started for us primarily during the pandemic. We all remember those pandemic days. And, everybody was their own bubble. We were our own bubble. So we started just talking a lot about what we were experiencing because we were our late 50s by then. And I know we're going to talk a little bit later, but Les was already retired. I was working, but work really, like so many people, just almost turned off overnight for a little while. So we just started talking about our experiences, and we're in very different industries from a career perspective, and yet we were experiencing the same things. So we started just going, wow, if we're experiencing the same things and you were in the financial industry and I was in the creative industry, then everybody must be, experiencing these similar issues. But more importantly, we got a lot of solace, I don't know if that's the right word, from talking to each other. So we thought, what if we talk to others and hear their stories and offer that space so that others can have that kind of shared experience and conversation as well. That's really what precipitated the whole thing. Yeah, and I think also we saw out there a lot of celebrities doing an amazing job about talking about aging, like Jane Fonda and Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, they're amazing and they have huge platforms and they're doing a great job. But in that sort of, well, what about other people? It was sort of like, what about everyday people? Like, what about, what about us? And what about, other people? So we hoped to not make it so aspirational from a celebrity standpoint, but more real from an everyday person standpoint, if that makes sense.
I'm curious just to click on that idea of the issues that you guys were facing. Can you color that in a little bit for us?
I think we both felt in a lot of ways as we aged, and particularly as women, that our voice was being diminished, that society was allowing a certain segment to disappear, like that we didn't feel heard, but still felt very vital and wanting to make a contribution and all that kind of stuff. So I think it really is a little bit of a tap on changing the narrative around how society views the decline supposedly as you age. And, we all know like aging isn't all roses, obviously, but, our life is different now. I mean, we're all living much longer lives. We're viewing our later years very differently than generations before. Yeah. And that what really became important for us to tackle that. I think it was yes, ageism there, but it's also what's happening in your mind, what's happening to your body. Like we're postmenopausal. So there was a lot of discussions around menopause, but it's well, what happens after menopause? And all these sort of revelations that we didn't have when we were going through. So it was health related, it was mind related. And the topics just started sort of stacking up. There's a lot of them.
I can relate to that, and there needs to be as many voices as possible in there because, as you say, you've got the celebrities and they've been amazing. There's so many, and they're aspirational, and then you want just regular people who are telling you their story so that you can go, oh yeah, that worked. That's something I can relate to. It's wonderful, and we appreciate your being out there.
Well, I think we get a tremendous amount of satisfaction if someone actually comments on our conversation and says, "Oh, I'm so glad to hear this. Not that I thought I was not the only one, but I'm so happy to know I'm not the only one experiencing this issue." Yeah. And it's great to be able to air the laundry, so to speak.
I really like your emphasis on agency because I think as you're describing this sense of, starting to feel diminished or invisible, I think women, because the dominant narrative is that, it's almost like we need a bit of a wake-up call to remind us that actually that's not true, that actually your voice is still really important and relevant and vibrant, and there's a lot that you have to contribute. But I think unless you have someone kind of saying that, it's easy to fall into like, oh, well, okay, I'll just sort of shrink back and, kind of drift into the woodwork, so to speak. And especially when it comes to wellness, that agency is so important. And you mentioned even, doing your own research or realizing that you can really take ownership over your wellness. And it's not inevitable to get weak and to lose that vibrancy. Like you really have a lot of control over it. So I just think that's such an important message. It's just so important.
Yeah, I think mindset is absolutely everything. And I love the way that you put, we need a reminder that it does start with you. Yeah, it does. It really has to come from
And
your
it's
internal.
mindset, but it's also knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, pay attention,
Yeah.
research it, figure out what's going to work for you,
Yeah.
because we always hear it. You're your best advocate, but you got to know what's going on.
You know, it's interesting too, as we get older, and it's not just women, it's the society, we're less important in the bigger picture in terms of even triage, you know. Yeah, a young person will have priority, and that makes sense, but it makes you need to do more on your own to, you know, to take care of yourself. It really, they're not looking out for you that much, you know. That's just the way it is. You got to accept it. That's reality. So all you're doing is help. What you are both doing is adding to that conversation and the knowledge. It's been an amazing explosion of information and science in the last few years, I feel.
Absolutely. And we're fascinated by it. Like
Yeah.
anything that is aging, like that one last scientific study that came out and talked about aging spurts.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
You age at 44, you have a
And-
spurt at 44, 60, and then maybe again at 78.
Yep.
And we started testing it with some of our 60-year-old friends. How do you feel?
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to it, but I think it's just fascinating what we're learning in the scientific realm around aging
Yeah.
and what we can or cannot do to control.
If you just do one thing, and I think you are doing it with your magic hour concept, which we're going to get to, it's to take away the sort of embarrassment or shame around aging, because we feel it. I feel it. And I'm going, wow, that's something that you have to really fight if you want to age well. So maybe you could talk a little bit about what you're seeing as this time in between, you know, I guess 55 plus.
We did come up with magic hour as a way to sort of describe it, because there's a lot of positive things that happen, but there's it's also it's actually comes from a film term. Sorry, I'm gonna
Yeah.
switch gears here. It actually comes from a film term, and I work in the film industry where people chase the magic hour because it's
Yeah.
the light, it looks beautiful, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I kind of feel like I'm in my magic hour because I feel so good, right? But, maybe society doesn't see me as being as productive and stuff, but I have the complete opposite feeling. So we wanted to just talk about magic hour as something that was positive as frankly the sun goes down. And say, it's just like you could make the same analogy around seasons in terms of spring, winter, fall, and so on. But summer, yeah.
So
And that we're
that's,
in our fall, and we're
Yeah.
we're in a place where we're feeling very vibrant and colorful and all those things. So really, that's what we were trying to do was just put some positivity into that season of life, if you will. Um,
oh, that is brilliant, because we do film too, and it's sort of like, people, we're losing the light. It's magic hour.
exactly.
It's
Light
all
is
about that.
everything. Light is everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And talk a little bit more about that, and just, how you're developing that idea and what it's doing for people.
I think one of the elements we mentioned earlier that we think is really important, and it's hard to put an age around it because it's really a stage of life
Yeah.
as well. So we can talk about that. It's it's all about how you want to engage in the world, and how do you get up every day and face whatever's on your plate. But we had a lot of talk about the conversation about menopause right now. And the conversation about menopause is going crazy right now. And
In a good way.
in a really good way. Like, people are talking about it. Society's, understanding that this is a major change and all these kinds of things. And there's whatever. When we went through menopause, there was zero conversation about it.
Yeah.
And we kind of suffered on that. So we take that kind of societal movement and apply it to aging and say we need to open up the conversation around aging, so that people don't fear it. People are more
Open.
educated about what's going to happen and all that kind of thing. And it's not to say that it's rah, it's all magic.
Yeah.
It's to be really realistic about it. But the magic hour really does kind of, if you were to say stage of life, is really a post-menopause
Yeah, and it's
particular
about taking
place.
the stigma out of talking about it. So
Yeah.
just like menopause
Yeah.
used to be, you never talked about it, shh, that kind of thing. And same with aging. You don't talk about it. It just sort of happens in the background and someone looks after you, hopefully, and that's the end of that. I mean, that's awful, but that's what it
Yeah.
used to be. So we want to take the stigma out of that human experience and make it more open and natural to engage and chat about, because we're all aging. Every single person is aging. And if we do get to this age, and we're very blessed to be at this age and
Yeah.
have our health and all those things, and hopefully there'll be a lot more people that will experience the same blessings in life. But man, you got to talk about it because it's not for the faint of heart.
In fact, it takes a lot of guts to just show up every day, and you've got to have an upside, and there are plenty of upsides too, but it's a thing.
It's a thing, definitely. Yep.
That's an interesting kind of segue, actually, just to have an upside and keep that positive mindset, to keep showing up and prioritizing yourself and your wellness. Do you guys have any tips for how you do that in your own lives? Like, how do you prioritize? Because it takes time to do all the things that we know are going to help us age well. How do you make space for that?
I think there's a big, long answer to that, but one of my favorite questions that I ask myself, and it sort of maps into that, is how do I want to engage with the world? And it's not about what I'm going to contribute or what people are going to give me. It's like, how do I want to engage? And what that leads me down when I answer that question is prioritizing things in a very intentional way. So in order for me to engage in the world, I need to be physically able to move and to do things. I need to have vitality. I need
Energy.
to have the energy that is going to allow me to do that.
Yeah.
So there's movement. I need to intentionally inside be, for me, positive, and anything that's negative has got to go away, and I've got to really recognize that. The science out there is crazy about negativity, and so that's another thing we've educated myself, or ourselves on it. But I think it's really important, and I think that the connections that you build in your life, and we can talk forever about connections and how they change and move and all that kind of thing. But understanding also that, every day or every second day or every third day, whatever it is that works for you, you've got to look after intentionally that connection that you're building in your relationships, because it's going to feed your soul. So, it's intention and it's mindset, I think, that really
Yeah.
is so important there.
And that is connected so much to motivation, because discipline isn't enough. You need the motivation to continue showing up, and that motivation is when you're intentionally knowing what you want to do. And I really like the way you say show up in the world, because what I'm finding too is it does get more intentional. You need to make the time. Before it was, I'll just work 12 hours in a row and not take a break. That's okay. But now it's not okay. And so you have to just make those choices, and they're more conscious than they were.
Yes.
they are.
How are people responding to Magic Hour concept? You know, I see you have a lot of readers and community, and how are you finding that?
I mean, overall, very, very good. I think people are eager and hungry for the conversation. It depends on what it is we're talking about,
Mm.
to be honest, which is, half the battle in terms of does it resonate with the audience,
Mhm.
Um, I think, we're learning as we go what we talk about that the community wants to talk about, and in a meaningful way. So, the reaction has been fantastic, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, when we first went out, we had a really wonderful
Mhm.
reaction from people. And as I said earlier, we listen to the community a lot.
Mhm.
We look at every single comment that comes in,
Yeah.
and just to kind of give us a little bit of intel about where the mood is and what people want to hear and what
Yeah.
the issues are.
Yeah.
So it's more the community helping us than us
Yeah.
driving it at this point, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
What did you say got a big response?
Well, we've had a lot of really um, big responses to some of our topics,
Yeah.
but I was referring to when we first launched Twinagers just
Yeah.
over 2 years ago. We went out on LinkedIn and sort of said, let's just start this conversation.
Mhm.
And I've never had such a response, like strangers. I had to turn off the notifications because it was kind of stressing me out. It was we didn't really know what we were doing, but offers of help, offers of support, people just saying, yes, we want more of this, like very encouraging as we went
Yeah.
along. And then as we went along, like things, when we started to talk about just how life changes, like one of our first really, really viral videos, I would say, was eating habits as we age.
Yeah.
And, just honestly saying, like, I don't want to go to dinner at 9 o'clock at night. I want my dinner done at 6, right? And then, like, it was crazy. So,
Mhm.
that got a great response. And then, we took our father after our mother passed away to a weekend in New York about a year ago, I guess.
Mhm.
And just he needed to get out of Toronto. He needed to have a, daughter. So we have a younger sister. She came with us as well. And we were at dinner and he just started talking and it was so full of wisdom. And
I
he
know,
was
and I
like,
said, stop.
he was like 90 years old. We got out the phone. But I think it was that little snippet of a 90-year-old man talking about energy levels.
Yeah.
Energy levels as he was 70 and 80.
Yeah.
Just people went crazy on it. So again, as Cint says, if the topic is one presented well, you've got to figure out how to do that, as you know. But
Yeah.
also if it resonates, we've
Yeah.
really seen some of these conversations take on a life of their own.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
That's part of the magic of it, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It really is. Mhm.
This is such a two-way medium and it's such an immediate response. It's incredible. I love how much it can reach people, and what's really resonating with people is something I guess you have to check in a lot with.
One woman at the very beginning, we did a post on ageism in the workplace, and she DM'd us and said that she was feeling it, da la la la, la, and that as a result of the video, she went and talked to her boss about certain behavioral things that were happening in her group and all that kind of thing. And they formed a task force within the company to look at ageism, all because of our video.
Yeah.
It was so nice. I wanted to tell the story, but she wanted to be anonymous. But I'm telling you,
You know who
So-
you are.
you know who
Yeah.
you are.
A bit of a segue from ageism in the workplace. I did want to talk a bit about retirement, and I'd love to hear. So you guys, one of you is retired, one of you is not retired. Give us the scoop. Where are you guys at personally with that?
Les is retired, and I'm not, but I have been working on it. I'm very fortunate in that I have a business partner at my company that is working with me on my exit plan, so to speak. So it is all in place, which is great. And it's a phased retirement plan so that operationally I change how I work there. Um, but what's interesting about it is the process and the thinking through. Like, I'm very, very fortunate that I've had the time to think about, what do I want out of it? What does it look like? How do you figure out the bits that satisfy your mind, but also the financial piece and the social piece. And there's so much involved with that. And Les had the complete opposite experience. You want to explain yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was corporate Canada, and I sort of corralled myself out at 55, not thinking about anything, and then called myself retired. And then, you have a honeymoon period when you stop working after you've been working, as you say, 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and everyone's looking forward to it, and they think it's going to be great. I'm going to be stopping. And you do have a honeymoon period where you go, phew, I'm glad that's over. And then I was very fortunate that I got to live in a new country for another couple of years, and the reality of retirement didn't hit me until I was in my 60s, early 60s. And then it's, what happens after that, where you start to think there was never a plan and there should have been a plan. So
I have a plan.
I think people are very lucky if they're able to have a personal coach, or they're at a level in a corporation where they get coaching to plan out. But,
Most don't.
most don't. And I think it's a real big gap.
I feel like that goes to the agency piece again of like, women need to hear, hey, it's okay to get help with this. It's not something that we normally think about, like, oh, I'm going through this big thing and I'm not really sure what the plan is and how to navigate it. But to even just have the idea that, oh, I could actually have a coach, or I could work with someone to help me through this, is a novel concept, I think.
Even if you don't get a coach, I think it's just simple realization or understanding of what it feels to walk away from that job, wake up the next day, and the emails aren't coming in. You don't have that infrastructure that's feeding you purpose. You don't have
Friends.
you don't have friends. They
Yeah.
disappear, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe you've left your friends behind because you've focused on your corporate life, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what just happened? So it's as simple as asking yourself, what is my week going to look like? How am I going to structure my days? Where am I going to find connection, or those social groups that I used to get through the work world? And I really do think that people should be better prepared for that. And I'm hoping that our conversation can at least help people be aware that they need to think about those elements other than paying the bills, because
Which is huge too.
it's huge, but no, there's so much more to it as well.
Yeah, well, and that just speaks to, as we're living longer and people are working longer, wouldn't it be great if those conversations were happening inside the organization as opposed to, there's career coaching inside of an organization or an HR department that'll look on different, maps for each employee, but I don't know that any of them look at what does it look like when you hit 55 or 60 or 65 inside this organization? What are your options and how do you prepare for that?
And it's interesting, I would have said in my last role, I probably spent 80% of my time mentoring younger employees on, what do you want out of your job? Where are you going? How can we help you? And it was a lot of talking, we'll put it that way. But no one asked me at the age of 55 what you wanted, what I wanted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not one person, ever. No.
God, yeah, that's perfect, because again, agency, I mean, you're on your own. You are on your own and you got to take it. And one of the experiences for me is being I don't tell my daughter, but being a workaholic that I am, she knows this. You don't realize how much other stuff is going to be needed to be taken care of while you're trying to work, which is your body, your everything else in your life. It takes a little bit longer. It's a little more difficult. You have to be more intentional, as you said. So all of a sudden you're going, I can't do this all and stay healthy, which is really hard. And then you go, oh, I must be an addict or something, and you have to start dealing with it. So whatever it is that you're dealing with at that age, it has to be looked at and dealt with, on your own, because who's gonna tell you except experiences like yours.
Yeah, and it's kind of a blur. You just kind of go. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. You do. It's a big topic. It really is. And we haven't addressed it with too many other people in our community. So we love talking to you about it. And now, Leslie, you've got a plan now? I mean, you're more.
Oh yeah. And I think it goes back to agency and educating yourself. And we talk a lot about purpose. And one of the key concepts that we talk a lot about when we think about purpose is society has this big narrative that says you've got to find your purpose. It's a big, big word with a capital P. And until you figure out your purpose, you're nothing, basically. And
Harsh.
it is harsh.
It
It's
is
harsh
harsh.
because people that don't have purpose feel really, really bad.
Yeah.
And what we've learned through all of our research and talking to people, et cetera, is that purpose doesn't have to be that big.
Yeah.
You can have small purposes and multiple purposes. So
Little piece.
little P's, we call them.
Mhm.
And your purpose in, the next act can be, I'm gonna make sure that I'm healthy. And I have a fitness issue, so I'm gonna work on that. Or I have some mental health issues that I want to focus on, so I'm gonna work on that. And another little P is I'm going to be,
Help my friend.
yeah,
Spend more time with my grandkids.
yeah,
Like
all
work
those
on the
things.
connection piece.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's many different ways that you can have the little P.
Yep.
And all of a sudden the world opens up when you start thinking about that. And you
Yeah.
go, you know
Yeah.
what? It's okay for me to have a bunch of little P's. And I'm not going to have the big, huge P and change the world, but I'm going to be able to engage with life and make a contribution in my own little way. And once you land there, it becomes a lot better.
Yeah.
That's a great approach. And the other thing we have to remember is a part of that is taking care of yourself and your health. Because before you could ignore it, you could just go, go, go. And that was that's what you did. But now you can't. If you want to have those little purposes and show up, it has to be, and this is a big mind shift for us, taking care of ourselves. We call it self-care. It's more than that,
Mhm.
survival. And
Yeah.
that's takes time. So when you make that shift, I think that's a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very true.
Yep.
I like that.
Mhm. What do you both either do to maintain yourselves physically? I mean, or do you have program any kind of activity, things like that? What do you do?
We're very active. Walking is huge. We do a ton of walking. The 10,000 steps a day, sure, but more than that. Like last year I walked the Portuguese Camino with my husband, so that was a big fitness goal. A whole bunch of other goals in there too, but but it was a fitness goal too.
That's good.
We just joined a pickleball club. We both play tennis from time to time. We just took up golf again. Like just trying to make sure there's physical activity all the time, that you're always, always moving. I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Synth worked on, lifting weights and
Yeah, I did
went with
weight.
a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I've joined a gym called the Longevity Gym.
Yeah.
What I like about this gym is it's all about what you're talking about. It's
Mhm.
about my future.
Mhm.
strength. So it's strength training, it's high interval training.
Yeah.
It's like, let's make sure you're going to be able to stand up from the floor position and all
Yeah.
those things that we know
Balance. Yeah.
more about. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're pretty focused on it. Like once a day for sure, there has to be one
Something.
thing,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that moves.
I like that idea of just like once a day, one thing.
Yeah.
It's easy and it's like kind of a non-negotiable, you know. I feel like sometimes it's easier to have that mindset where it's just like every day I'm going to invest in movement. And it's just, what am I going to do today instead of, am I going to do something today?
I'm trying to have fun with it too. We like to sort of try and where we can marry physical activity with social or
Mhm.
try new things. Like we tried the weighted vest thing for a while, you know, like you just want to just keep trying stuff and going, oh, that was interesting. That made it harder. I like that, you know?
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are fun to keep going on.
But I think back to your point about trying, like just doing one thing, like waking up with the mindset, like not just, okay, I hope I can fit it in today.
Yeah.
It becomes it goes to the top of the pile. When
Yeah.
is it going to happen when you think about it? And I think the other thing is there's so much advice about what you should do out there.
Yeah.
I know.
Like advice overload, like
Yeah.
Advice overload.
do this fitness, take these supplements, eat this way, like all this kind of thing. So, again, it goes back to intention and just like, okay, well, what's the
Yeah.
one thing that's going to work for me for a little while? And
Yeah.
like we're sort of in that camp.
Yeah.
We're not Ironman triathletes
Oh,
or
no.
anything
No,
like
no, no. No. No.
that. I have some
And
friends that are
my
like,
tennis game is pretty awful.
oh yeah,
Hope you're watching the US Open anyway.
oh
Every
yeah,
every day. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's incredible stories. But you know, back to that intention to move and finding things that you love. I never thought, I didn't even think about, gee, would I enjoy weight training the way I do? And I do, and I don't know why. It seems like I wouldn't, but I do. I mean, I've always been in sports, but the that lifting or getting that strength, it feels good, and you know that you're going to benefit so much, and it's fun. So, but again, that takes time.
Does, and I think that's the big lesson. You have to be very patient with yourself when you take something new on. You really do. I've
Mhm.
learned the hard way with
Yeah.
going, this feels great. I'm going to be so buff in no time, and then you hurt yourself, right? I'm not, I don't even tell you how many times.
Yeah, and it takes longer to heal. So yes, that's a great point. It's a
Yeah,
great point.
be very patient and just like know that you're getting stronger because you will feel it, but it does take time.
Yeah.
It's my message, please.
That's a great tip. I mean, listen, a lot of what you've been saying are things, are takeaways, but I agree about the info overload. There's, as Amanda, as we said in our newsletter this week, there's so many shoulds, and
Yeah.
you get kind of paralyzed. You're like, oh, you know.
You know, for those of us that struggle with perfectionism or, it's like you don't have the perfect plan. You don't have the perfect meal plan or the perfect fitness plan or the perfect this, and you don't know which one is the right one. And so you kind of just don't really do anything, but it's really, and we always say this because we're very much, of a similar mindset where it's like, it's really the little things, like even just what you were saying about purpose. It's like, it's the little peas,
Yeah.
it's the little things, the little healthy habits that you just do consistently. It's not about the perfect anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's always disappointing where you're doing something, and then all of a sudden it comes out it's not good for you, and you're like,
But then you go, wait a minute, do I trust that it's not good for me?
yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, right now it's all about microplastics, right? So I'm going, oh God, tea bags, and I have to rethink everything, and
No.
and it was microwaves and earbuds.
Yeah.
So we're constantly being bombarded. So my position is, moderation. Just try to not get into too much too far,
Yes, exactly.
I'd love to talk a little bit about connection. It's come up a few times, but it's actually, so we have 3 pillars of wellness at Movement Living: movement, food, and connection, which we feel like, and I think the science is really showing that it's almost as important as nutrition and exercise, is those connection pieces, like you were saying, whether that's your little P's or your big P, or your relationships with others. And I love how you phrase how you show up in the world. I think that's so important, how you show up in the world and how you show up in those relationships. And I mean, you guys growing up as twins, and it's like you have a best friend that's like built in. And you guys have obviously stayed really close throughout your lives, but can you talk a little bit about how you invest in your own relationship together, but then also just other relationships in your lives?
Our twin journey, so to speak, it started obviously like this, and we grew up together, same experiences for the most part. So very, very close for a large part of all through childhood, teenage years, etc. University, we actually went to the same university and roomed together through university, although I was a year after.
Yeah.
And then we started to diverge, interestingly enough, because our careers took different paths. So we did go off on our own and create our own friendships and communities and life, really.
And you had kids earlier.
I
than
had
me.
kids earlier, so
Yeah.
that is a whole other, layer of
Yeah.
new social connections, etc. And I would say it wasn't until our kids were bigger, Les also moved countries,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until the kids were substantially bigger, I'd say, your kids even, that we
Yeah.
started to come together more like how we were in our childhood. It's almost like we reverted.
Aw.
And now that connection feels the same as it was when we were 5, 6, 7 years old. It's immediate, and we know what each other thinks, and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. All those twin things might be true today. But we do have distinct sets of friends. We do have some shared friends as well. And those are important to keep up. Les has some work friends that have come with her through her work career, same with me. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, connection is so hard. It's our belief that um, shared experience is what keeps connection alive.
Yes.
Bar none, nothing. And
Yeah.
the shared experience doesn't have to always be some epic trip you took together, or
Yeah.
some epic concert you went to
Yeah.
together, or something like that. It can be the small things, the regular coffee chats, or the
Going for a walk.
or something like that. And it's about consistency. It's about working at
it.
the friendships to keep them alive, and to
Mhm.
keep experiencing something together, so you have that bond. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will note too, that we've learned about connection, is it does change. Your friends are going to, there's an ebb and a flow of when certain friends come in and out of your life.
Yeah.
And to understand that that's okay.
Yeah.
It's stages and all that kind of thing. And I think one of the things that's on my mind a lot is, as you age, how do you meet new people?
Mhm.
How do you make more new friends?
Yeah.
And that's something that we've talked a lot about on our platform, because
Yeah.
that's not easy
Yeah.
as you lose infrastructure of work and having kids and all that kind of thing. So again, where do
Yeah.
you find those commonalities with other people that might become a lifelong friend on the back end of your life,
Yeah.
right? So it's all very interesting, but so important to
Mhm.
your longevity and your well-being, for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you find are the best venues or types of ways to meet new friends?
I think it's common interest. So I think it really starts with yourself and what you're interested in, and then
Yeah.
you go find that community.
Yeah, whether it ends up being like a
Mhm.
hobby or picking up pickleball or volunteering somewhere
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
joining a book club, whatever the case may be, if
Mhm.
there's a root of that shared interest, I think that's sort of
That's the
that's
germ.
the piece you grow, right?
So go
Mhm.
find it, put yourself in it, again, intention, and then let
Intention.
it blossom. You know, and one other thing, when you were talking about childhood connections,
Yeah.
even not being a twin, but having some of those very, very, very old friendships, and one is my sibling, actually my older brother. There's nothing like it, and you never have to start over. I mean, you're always just there. This friend and I, we've always remembered each other's birthdays, and that's about the only time we ever talk, and it doesn't matter. And I love that, and I'm going back to a few more of those old ones too, to reconnect. I think they just make me feel good. But new ones are important too.
Yeah. There's something about your high school reunion where you just kind of you go and you meet people and you spend 10 minutes going, yeah, I worked, I had 2 kids, and yeah, now I'm a grandma, and okay, so let's party or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
It's that bonding that you went through so long ago just
Yeah.
sticks.
That's funny. That's funny.
And what about with your kids now that they're older, independent? How do
Mhm.
you keep those connections strong?
I don't find that work at all. Like
Yeah.
I think I can speak for both of us when we say we have very regular communication every day, if
Mhm.
not every other day. Certainly I've just had a granddaughter. She just turned 3. Can't get enough of her. Like that strengthens it as well. Like we remember as being young mothers, like how important our mother was when we were young mothers.
Mhm.
That bond becomes even more deep, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, it's just it's our relationship with our adult kids is wonderful. Like they were all at the Oasis concert
Yeah,
with us on Saturday,
Oh,
Sunday,
wow.
whatever day
That's so
that was.
good.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
we're very blessed
yeah,
with our relationship. So
yeah. Very involved. They're
yeah,
interested in our life. We're interested in theirs. They
yeah,
help us. We help them.
yeah,
Like it's a two-way street
yeah,
all the time on
yeah,
everything from what should I wear tomorrow night? I have a dinner to go to, oh my God, I have an interview next week. Help me.
yeah,
Like it's everything.
So good.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
says a lot for you and how you raised them. And is it
Mm.
different from with your parents? In my generation, we weren't as connected to our parents. And so maybe now it's different.
I think it is so very different. When
Yeah.
I think about the experiences that
Yeah.
I have with my 2 daughters and the relationship that I have, and I try to think about what the difference is. It was definitely um, generational.
Hmm.
Well, I had our mother passed, but our dad's alive. Well, we had good relationships with them. The connection wasn't.
The same.
I don't think it's the same as what I have with the kids, and I often ask myself, like, what is that?
Mhm.
Um, I can't really answer it. I go, is it the internet? Is it social media? Is it um,
Society's
society evolving?
expectations, I think.
Yeah.
There's a common thread that I think goes through in terms of wanting to launch your kids, if that's a way to talk about it. You
Mhm.
want to launch your kids, you want to provide for them, you want to give them every leg up to get ahead, right?
Yeah.
But it's I don't know, it's there's another layer of it that
It was
seems to
different.
be different now than it was then. I don't know, maybe that's just our experience. I think it's a very individual thing, but there is something generational in there around expectations on what your relationship with your children should be.
We didn't expect that kind of, you know, into a relationship with our parents the way our children seem to. And I love it. We love it because they actually like us, and so we can, we can enjoy our lives together. It's wonderful.
And I do think that there's a bit about how society has progressed because
Yeah.
while it's generational, it's less formal. I think in the relationship, like, our experience was Sunday night dinners.
Yeah.
And then when we were away, the Sunday night phone call from university, because we didn't have smartphones where we were texting our mom or
Yeah.
our dad or whatever. So there's elements of how that's helped the
Well,
relationship
and I
go
think
deeper.
also traditional roles as well. Our mom went back and became a teacher when we were teenagers. So
Yeah.
she went back to school and she created a career later in life. But there wasn't the same, there was very definitive kind of lane.
No, that's true. And also, it's more collaborative in a way. Like what you lose in hierarchical control over your kids, but you gain it in being collaborative and working together, and that's a price worth paying. I think anyway. I love these ideas. They're not new, but they're sort of evolving, and so we can articulate them like this. It helps us all understand where we are better.
You guys mentioned losing your mom a couple of times, and I mean, no one is ever really ready to lose their mom. I know I'm very concerned for that day.
I'm still here.
Yeah. And Gab, you and I talk a lot about Oma, your mom, and how you just are always thinking about her. And I'd love to hear from you guys just about that experience, how you went through that grief process a little bit, just to help other women who may be in that right now.
Well, I think, our personal story it was very sudden, so it was a very shocking thing.
Mhm.
We had no time to prepare for it. So I
Yep.
think there's,
That's hard.
yeah, that's hard. There's the loss and there's almost the PTSD that comes from that experience that you don't know you're dealing with, but you are dealing with it. I often have recurring nightmares about that time, but I think it's another journey to
Yeah.
understand grief, and grief is a journey, and it shows up so differently in different people, even among our family, like our other sister and my father and Synth and I. We all dealt with it differently.
Mhm.
And I think we were very respectful with each other on that whole process.
Mhm.
But I think you're right. It just never really goes away. You learn to live with it,
Mhm.
and it's a big hole, obviously.
But it changes a lot of
Mhm.
things too, because it's the matriarch of the family, right?
Mhm.
So, you sort of look at that too. We talk about different generations, right? Like
Mhm.
on my husband's side, his parents passed away years ago, so he's been dealing with like no matriarch or patriarch in that family for a long time. So
Mhm.
there's just shifting kind of priorities, I guess, roles
yeah.
and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of change as well,
Yeah, and it's like
right?
who's the glue in the family?
Yeah.
Who's left, right?
Yeah.
Who fills that role? So
What's
that becomes something that niggles in the back of your mind, I think,
hmm
on that. But
hmm
yeah, I don't think that I think it's understanding that it just is this rolling thing. It
and
just hits everyone differently.
yeah.
The people that you've loved and have loved you are always in you, no matter what. And when they die, they're still there, and you still think of them, and they still influence you. And then you have these moments. I even thought about my mother this morning. I look at something, either something she made or did, and I go, oh, I miss her, and then you just go on because that's life. So what can you, yeah, but it is so wonderful to have had that. And that's really where we're coming to, isn't it? It's so wonderful to have had anything that we've had. And that's why you appreciate things so much more when you get to this age. Good old wisdom, you know.
Yay, yay, wisdom.
It makes up for a lot of bad
And
stuff.
once in a while you go, we're wise.
Yeah, so what? But it does bring you comfort because you understand things with better perspective, and that makes up for a lot of the real negative side of getting older. But you know, just having you explain things, motivate, inspire, is such an enrichment of the community. And it is a community, the community of 50 plus, you know, or 55 plus, or where we are. And the addition of the you know, magic hour, golden hour, and concepts that we can hang on to help understand where we are in life. I think it just makes us all better. And I think makes us all be able to thrive in where we are in aging. So
Agreed.
we appreciate you very much for that.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
as we wrap up, I'd love to ask you guys the Movement Living 5. They're just rapid fire questions.
Quick.
So, I'll ask a question and then you guys can each give your answers. So, in a few words, what does wellness mean to you?
So for me, wellness is being cognizant of what fuels you in body, mind, and spirit, and doing it with intention. That's what wellness means to me.
Love it.
And for me, what wellness means is feeling satisfied when I get up in the morning that I have something to do that is going to be inspiring to me.
What is a daily habit that you swear by to feel your best?
For me, daily habit, walking. If I don't get a walk in, even if it's just a quick 30 minutes, although I like to go longer, but if I don't get a walk in, I don't feel as good as I want to be during the day. We're twins, mine's the same. Okay.
Love that. Is there a health concern that you worry about the most?
Yeah, I worry about dementia and Alzheimer's. I think that it is a very awful situation, and it's in our family.
Yeah.
So that's my worry.
Same. We're twins. But it is no, just loss of being able to have cognitive functioning. Yeah. It's a big one because it drives so much of everything else.
And what's a favorite way to treat yourself?
Well, a favorite way to treat myself is getting together with family. Like that to me is the biggest treat. You know, I had my kids a little bit earlier than Les, so they have been launched and on their own earlier, and I cherish every time any one of them comes back, and particularly the next generation, which hits you like a ton of bricks. I want more of that.
And mine's different. I get that. And I think it's a good thing to cherish.
Okay, good.
But if I really want to treat myself, it's my alone time.
You're the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Come on
It's
in.
like,
Go away.
it's like I have a night by myself. Everyone's gone. I don't have to do anything. It's my alone time. And that night will look different depending on how I feel, but alone time.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's good.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Two very separate things that are equally important, because I
Yeah.
can relate to both of you exactly the same,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
And last question, what is something that you are learning right now?
For me, because my background isn't the same as Since, but the thing that I'm really learning is everything about video production, scripting, light, like all that stuff. And I'm
Editing.
just editing, just eating it up in terms of, and it is a learning process.
And the thing I'm learning now, I'm fascinated with AI tools. I go down a rabbit hole pretty much every day on something new in respect to AI and what they're doing for, you know, from the business side to what you can create with them to, you know, what we use in our day-to-day life. I find it fascinating.
Those are big mind, mind expanding things.
Yeah.
I love always hearing what people are learning. I think it's so interesting because everyone's always, I think that's something that really differentiates a lot of the people that we talk to and the people in our community is like, they're always learning something, and that curiosity and desire to be engaged and, learn about what's new in AI or what's new in video production and how you can participate in it. It's very cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
Well, this has been so fun. Speaking of fun, it's been wonderful to talk to you. I just think, we're so aligned in how we think about aging and how we want to change the narrative and start a new conversation. And I think it's so important. And we are so appreciative of the work that you guys are doing and the community that you're building. And where can we find you?
Well, just follow us on Instagram primarily at Twin Agers. Same on TikTok. I mean, we have plans for expansion afterwards, but we're also trying to figure out what might transpose into real life as well for some live events in the future. So stay tuned. But it'll all be on Instagram. So that's the best place to find us.
Well, we will see you on Instagram then, and we will look forward to catching up with all of your latest learnings, concerts, family activities, and just, everything. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you for having us. It was wonderful to talk to both of you. Love the intergenerational thing that you're building as well.
Yeah.
Super important and wonderful to see.
And the information that comes from you,
Oh my gosh, yes.
so good.
Yeah.
We love
Good
it.
to hear. Good
Great
to hear.
job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thoughtfulness, But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. I hope we can catch up because I feel like we want to keep in touch.
Yeah, let's do
Absolutely.
that for
Yeah.
sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you. All right.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.